All set, Kristen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Proud. I'm the Vice Chair of New York Creates. I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting this afternoon. I'll do a roll call first of the directors who are participating in today's meeting. Michael Abbott.
Present.
Christine Chung.
Present.
Doreen Harris.
Present.
Dr. Mengling Chow.
Present.
Joan McDonald.
Present.
And Kenneth Tompkins.
Present.
Thank you, everyone, for joining this afternoon. At this time, I would also like to recognize the advisory representative's designee. That's Ian Rosenblum, who is the designee of the Chancellor of the State University of New York. Thank you, Ian, for joining us. And I'd also like to recognize the member representatives, Ryan Farrell, representing the Research Foundation of the State University of New York, and also Michael Frame, representing the SUNY Polytechnic Institute Foundation. I would also recognize the officers who are participating in today's meeting. Those are David Anderson, Patricia Arciero Craig, Paul Kelly, Scott Bateman, Timothy Taylor, and Patricia Buckland. At this time, I would ask anyone who is not speaking to please mute their computer when not speaking to minimize any background noise. And also, if you would kindly identify yourself when you are speaking and if you make a motion. For purposes of voting this afternoon, we will call out each director's name for their vote so that we can have an accurate record of the vote. At this time, I would ask that if anyone has a potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on today's agenda, that you would please make an appropriate disclosure on the record now and then recuse yourself from any discussion about that topic or vote on the agenda item when we do get to it on the agenda. Does anyone have any conflict or potential conflict? Okay, good. Then hearing none, we'll jump right in with our first item this afternoon, which is an approval of the minutes. I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the New York Creates Board meeting that was held on June 29, 2023.
Christine Chung, so moved.
Thank you. Christina, second, please.
Ken, second.
Thank you, Ken. Does anyone have any corrections to offer to the minutes of the June 29th meeting? Hearing none, then we will move to the vote, starting with Michael Abbott.
Aye.
Christine Chung.
Aye.
Doreen Harris.
Aye.
Dr. Mingling Xiao.
Aye.
Joan McDonald.
Aye.
Kenneth Tompkins.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it and the motion to approve the minutes is adopted. Now we'll move to the Finance Committee report, which I will present this afternoon. The first item on the agenda is the construction of NanoFab reflection and related actions. Could I have a motion, please, to consider and adopt New York Creates Resolution number 20 and FRMC Resolution number 187, approving and authorizing the construction of NanoFab reflection and related actions?
So moved by Mengling Xiao.
Thank you. A second, please.
This is Joan, second.
Thank you. So by way of background, in May of 2022, FRMC issued a request for proposals from qualified bidders to provide design, construction, startup, commission, and related services associated with the construction of a new 50,000 square foot clean room facility to be called NanoFab Reflection, or NFR, and certain facilities related thereto, which include support buildings, process support systems, and a parking garage, all of which will be located on the Albany Nanotech complex. The RFP was issued based upon a cost-plus basis, whereby the bidder's design and construction fees were to be proposed as a percentage of the cost of work for the overall project. In response to the RFP, DPS Gilbane, a contractual joint venture and partnership comprised of Gilbane Building Company and DPS Advanced Technology Group, Inc., submitted a proposal to provide the requested work, and FRMC determined that the design builder's proposal represented the best value to FRMC of all of the responses received in connection to the RFP. Following contract negotiations, FRMC and the design builder arrived at an agreement with respect to the design builder's performance of the work. The agreement provides for design and construction management fees in the amount of 13.18% of the actual cost of work incurred by the design builder, of which 4.9% is specifically allocated for design services. Additionally, the agreement utilizes a project control budget inclusive of design and construction management fees to control the entire project costs, which is initially established at an estimated $409,907,537, of which $22 million is estimated for design costs. The agreement states that the design builder is not permitted to advance the work or incur any costs in connection with the project except to the extent that the same is authorized in a duly executed notice to proceed. Contemporaneous with the procurement and contract negotiations, New York Creates and FRMC explored available options for funding the project. As an initial step, Empire State Development has agreed to provide a $22 million grant to New York Creates to fund the design phase expenses. New York Creates and FRMC will execute the grant disbursement agreement and related documentation with ESD. Upon receipt of the $22 million initial ESD funding, the agreement provides for FRMC issuing a notice to proceed authorizing the design builder to proceed with the design phase of the project and incur costs in connection therewith in an amount not to exceed the initial ESD funding. Upon completion of the design, a subsequent notice to proceed may be issued contingent upon a revised project control budget, funding, and board approval. In addition, our FRMC will have the ability to designate one or more individuals as owners' representatives with respect to the daily activities necessary to facilitate the design and construction work. New York Creates will also transfer initial ESD funding to FRMC from time to time to cover the design phase expenses incurred by FRMC through the agreement with the design builder. The Finance Committee of New York Creates and FRMC reviewed and approved the resolutions described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting, including the recommendations that the board approve the same actions. So at this time, the requested action is approval of New York Creates Resolution number 20 and FRMC Resolution number 187. I'll pause there and see if there are any questions or comments that any of the board members have. Hearing none, then we will proceed to the vote, beginning with Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye, excuse me. Thank you.
sure, Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the resolution and motion are adopted. The next item on the agenda is a real property purchase agreement with Udo Inc. and its affiliate. I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt a real property purchase agreement with Udo and its affiliate.
So moved, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. A second, please. Is there a second?
I'll second Doreen Harris.
Thank you, Doreen. So FSMC is the owner of several condominium units consisting of approximately 103,099 square feet on 7 floors located at 562 Main Street Condominium in Buffalo, New York. Udo Inc. is a small open source enterprise resource planning software company with an office in San Francisco, California, that provides a suite of integrated business applications that are designed to provide small and medium-sized businesses with easy-to-access software. Udo and its affiliate are seeking to further the goals of FSMC by expanding its footprint and employment numbers in the city of Buffalo. The company intends to hire and retain high-tech permanent employees to be employed in positions located within these condo units at 562 Main Street in Buffalo. In furtherance of FSMC's mission and in order to accomplish the company's goals, FSMC and Udo have reached an understanding in which FSMC will enter into a real property purchase agreement with Udo for the purchase of condo units in exchange for $1 and the performance of certain covenants related to retaining its current employment numbers in New York, which was 175 as of June 1, 2023. And in addition, hiring 350 qualifying employees by December 31, 2028, in accordance with a set schedule. The sale directly accomplishes FSMC's mission to foster innovation, economic development, and private sector job creation in the city of Buffalo, and it is supported by Empire State Development. As set forth in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, Udo will be required to pay a penalty for failure to meet employment numbers and will also be required to pay FSMC the fair market value of the building if it were to be sold anytime within the next 7 years. The memorandum also sets forth the information required by the corporation's acquisition and disposition of real property policy for the disposition of real property for less than fair market value. Chief Operating Officer Paul Kelly and Interim Contracting Officer Scott Bateman approve of this transfer. In addition, Hope Knight, President and Chief Executive Officer Designate of the Empire State Development, consent to this transfer of property. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the materials and memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same actions. So at this time, the requested action is approval of FSMC Resolution number 207. Are there any questions or comments from any of the board members? Hearing none, we'll begin with the vote. Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Chao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The next item on our agenda this afternoon is a lease amendment with IBM. So could I please have a motion to consider and adopt this lease amendment with IBM?
This is Joan, so moved.
Thank you, Joan. A second, please.
Mike, I second it.
Thank you, Mike. So IBM currently is leasing 43,027 square feet of office space in condominiums owned by FSMC. That's located in an office building at 562 Main Street in Buffalo. That lease is for a term expiring on September 15th of this year. IBM is now seeking to amend the lease to extend the term and decrease the amount of space leased. As amended, the lease will include 14,954 square feet of space for a term commencing on September 16, 2023 and expiring in 2 years on September 15, 2025, with an option to extend for an additional 2 years. IBM will pay annual rent in the amount of $404,028 for the first year of the lease and $416,148.84 for the second year of the lease. The new rental rate includes operating expenses, property taxes, condominium fees, and related costs, and landlord's insurance. The tenant will pay for utilities. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting, including recommending that the board approve these same actions. So at this time, I would ask for approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with IBM as requested in the memo that was provided to you prior to this meeting. Are there any questions or comments on the lease amendment? Okay. Hearing none, then we'll move to the vote. Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Chao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, so the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item is a lease amendment with Excite US, Inc. I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt this lease amendment.
So moved by Ellen Shaw.
Thank you. A second, please.
Ken, second.
Thank you, Ken. So the company currently leases 30,000 square feet of office space located in the Zen building, and that term of the lease expires August 31, 2023. Company is seeking to exercise an option in the current lease to extend for 1 year, commencing on September 1, 2023. The rent will be $26.30 per square foot, which does include operating expenses as well as utilities. Commencing 6 months after the start of the new term, the company may terminate the lease by written notification not less than 3 months prior to the requested date of the termination. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memo given to you in advance of this meeting, and the Finance Committee recommends that the board approve the same actions. So the requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with Excite as requested in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting. Are there any questions or comments? Then we'll move to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, so the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item is a lease with Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, RPI. I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt a lease with RPI. Is there a motion?
Christine Chung, so moved.
Thanks, Christina. Second, please.
This is Joan. I second.
Thank you, Joan. So RPI is a technological research university based in Troy, New York. It encompasses 5 schools with over 30 research centers in total. RPI seeks to lease 660 square feet of office space in NFE for a term that would commence August 1, 2023 and end on August 31, 2024. The rent is $22 per square foot for the period of August 1, 2023 through July 31, 2024, and $22.44 for August of 2024. The rent would include utilities and operating expenses, and the tenant will pay for parking. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting, including the recommendation that the board approve the same action. So at this time, the requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease with RPI as requested in the memorandum that was provided to you. Are there any questions or comments on the lease with RPI? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to the vote, beginning with Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item is a lease amendment, and that is with Menlo Microsystems, Inc. Could I have a motion, please, to consider and adopt a lease amendment with Menlo?
This is Doreen. I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Doreen. A second, please.
Second by Mengling Shaw.
Thank you. So Menlo is a manufacturer of enhanced electronic switches that can handle high temperatures, high stressed conditions, and a company currently leases 3,458 square feet of office space in NFE for a term that will expire on July 31, 2025. Menlo is seeking to lease an additional 910 square feet of lab space for a term that would commence on October 1, 2023 for a 22-month period. Menlo will have an option to extend the term for the new lab space for up to 2 additional 24-month periods. The rent would be $34.78 per square foot for the current office space for the period from August 1, 2023 through July 31, 2024, and then $35.82 from the period August 1, 2024 through July 31, 2025. The rent for the new lab space would be $50 per square foot for the partial year from October 1, 2023 through July 31, 2024, and then $51.50 for the period from August 1, 2024 through July 31, 2025. The rent does include utilities and operating expenses, and it will increase by 3% per year. The tenant will pay separately for parking. FRMC will provide $18,200 toward fit-up costs for this space. So the Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to board members in advance of this meeting, and the committee recommends the board approve the same action. So at this time, the requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with Menlo as requested in the memorandum provided to you. Are there any questions or comments about the lease amendment? Okay. I'll move to the vote, beginning with Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item on the agenda is a lease amendment with the Power Authority of the State of New York. Is there a motion to consider and adopt the amendment?
So moved, Ken.
So the New York Power Authority, which is the largest state electric utility in the nation, currently leases approximately 9,832 square feet of office space in Zen for a 10-year term that commenced on July 1, 2023. This amendment would provide that FRMC will provide certain specified operation and maintenance services for the premises with respect to heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, fire protection, fire alarm and pre-action fire suppression systems, and electrical systems, and also that the New York Power Authority will pay for cooling charges, including water usage and electricity, pursuant to a formula set forth in the lease amendment. The Finance Committee did review and approve this resolution described to you in the memorandum offered in advance of the meeting, and the Finance Committee does recommend that the board approve this action. So the requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with the New York Power Authority as requested in the memorandum provided to you. Are there any questions or comments?
This is Mike Abbott. I had a question on the amendment. It looks like this lease just started July 1, so first day of last month. Were these issues not addressed in the original lease? Is that what happened, or how did this come about that we need to do this amendment so quickly?
That is my understanding, is that this amendment will provide additional specification as to the delineation of responsibilities for certain of the operational aspects of the premises between FRMC and the Power Authority.
Correct.
I don't know if any of the officers of the corporation have anything they want to add.
This is Paul Kelly. That is correct. That is, we had further conversations and wanted to delineate it in the amendment.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments? Then we'll move to the vote. Mike,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, please. So the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. At this time, I would ask if there's any new business that anyone would like to raise this afternoon. Hearing none, I would open the opportunity for public comment. If there is anyone from the public who wishes to comment, I would ask you to please introduce yourself and then keep your comments to 2 minutes. Hearing no public comment, that brings us to the date for our next meeting, which is yet to be determined. Once we do have a date for the next meeting, it will be posted on the website. Is there any further business from anyone at this time? If not, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Christine
Mike, so
Dunn.
moved.
Thank you, Christina. Second.
Mike, I second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. We appreciate your time this
Thanks,
afternoon.
everybody.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.